What's up, everyone? Thank you guys for coming on to the podcast. I got my boy Bryhan Alonzo on, and super excited for this one. You guys may have heard Bryhan a while ago on my IG Live. We chopped it up a little bit. I wanted to get him back on in a more formal setting of the podcast, and just talk about everything in terms of for people who don't know, B trained me at TOCA for a couple of years. Daniel Johnson was on the podcast a little bit ago. He was on the first ever episode, I believe, but he's the one that got me in. He introduced me to TOCA. If you guys don't know what TOCA is a machine hits the ball out to you and you get an amazing workout with 18 balls, etc. There's a lot of things you can do about that. But B was my trainer, right? So he helped me a lot, helped me with my conditioning and stuff like that when I was at Atlanta United. But I wanted to get you on, talk about a lot of different things. But anything you want to say, anything about yourself that you want to get out there right off the bat?
Yeah, no. First of all, I appreciate you having me on again. And it's always a pleasure to catch up with you and talk soccer, talk everything. A little bit about myself. I was I was at TOCA with when Andrew came by. I was there for about 6 years, and recently had to step away from that, but I'm still doing my thing. Still coaching. Just recently got a new opportunity coaching at Atlanta United with the youth program. So that was has been a blessing. So just trying to keep doing my thing, keep inspiring, and keep doing my thing.
So it's interesting too, because you're a young guy, right? And now I'm
younger-ish.
Now
I look young, but
yeah. Now I'm in coaching myself. I've always been in coaching, but I'm in coaching, more of a full-time role now. And you don't really you never really saw that. Okay, so for me personally, stepping away from the professional game and getting into coaching more and mentorship and stuff like that, you don't really see young kids leaving the professional game or whatever to go into coaching. For you, it was even younger. You said, I want to be a coach. What about yourself, and what about the landscape of soccer even? What made you want to get into coaching at such a young age and not wait until you're 35 or 40 when you're retired and can't possibly play anymore? What made you want to be a coach?
So to be honest, at the beginning, I never saw myself being a coach, period. Never crossed my mind. I did the college thing. I played college soccer, and once I came back, I got into the real life job, like an accounting job, and I wasn't like I said, it was never in my plans to be a coach, but just being around the game kind of brought back memories when I was younger. A couple of close people that that were close to me were always like, "Hey man, you never thought about coaching? I feel like your personality kind of fits it, and you should try it." And I was like, you know what? Let me try it. And it was literally that first session that I had. I actually just went to go shadow. It wasn't even a training session, but just being around the young kids, being around the game, just brought so much memory. And I was like, hey man, I feel like I'm still young, and I could still kind of touch certain coaching things that I didn't get as a young kid. That I was like, hey, maybe I could make a change, and I can just be me doing it and enjoying it and be passionate about it. And that's literally how it started. Just the drive, the passion, the motivation to just see these kids all the time playing the game that I love. And then them growing themselves. And that's kind of what got into it. Like I said, it was never a plan. It just kind of started, and the passion just kind of drove me.
Yeah. And so you touched on it there, but for someone we talk all the time, I've been at the when you're at TOCA, you're like, I've been at the facility since 8 o'clock this morning, and now it's 9:30 now PM. I've been here all day. What gets you through that? And why do you come back the next day? Why do you do that?
Correct. No, I mean, a lot of it, I knew that I was I'm not an expert at it. So I was I know I need to spend a lot of time here. I need to spend a lot of time just doing it, And what drove me was just, again, it was every day with a different kid. It was always something new. I was learning from them about myself, And at the same time, I was getting feedback from them and their parents like, hey, so and so is actually like motivated to work out,
Right.
motivated to this game. And again, that's kind of what drove me, just the motivation that they had was like, man, I could really impact people by just being me,
Yeah.
and through this game,
Yeah, I mean so that's key. And my dad, for me, is my biggest mentor. Been in the game for over 40 years and stuff like that. And you said the exact same thing he does, and that's basically the best way to coach, because everyone's like, oh, like what makes a good coach and all this stuff, and it's the man or woman who is true to themselves, right? I'm not trying to be Pep Guardiola when I'm out there, because I'm not Pep Guardiola. I'm not even, Rick over here, who's a great coach, and I look up to Rick, but I'm myself. I have different values and different things that I believe in. The way I talk is different, and the way I conduct trainings is different. And it's about staying true to yourself, taking pieces from everyone, but staying true to yourself. And I think you touched on it again just now, is that you still got to keep developing. Like, you're never, we're seeing two ends of the spectrum. Like I said, you're a young guy, and my dad's not so young, and you guys are saying the same things. Continue to learn, continue to get better always. And it's not, there's never, and I think there's something wrong in our culture as coaches. There's something wrong in our culture that when I get an A license, then I'm good. I don't need to learn anymore. I've learned everything the USSF said I need to learn, but it's not about licenses. It's not about any of that. It's about, how do I become better? How do I get more out of these kids? And how do I get better for myself? And I think from a coaching standpoint, we look at it as, or a trainer standpoint, we look at it as, I'm trying to make the kids better. I'm trying to make the kids better mentally. I'm trying to get the kids better physically. What about yourself, right? You can only put out what you have inside, right? I can't just out of nowhere start doing all these different things that Pep Guardiola is doing.
Correct. You said it right on. Like you have to, like I said, be true to yourself and really be willing to be coachable as well. As a coach, like I feel like a lot of everything that I've gotten is through other coaches.
Yeah, exactly.
Like especially one of like my coaches right now that I coach with, I call him Bill. Again, he's actually younger than me.
Yeah.
But he has a little bit more experience in the higher level than me. So a lot of things that I'm like still learning, that simple things that you're supposed to know at the beginning. But again, I didn't really get the right information. So now it's like, all right, now I'm starting to learn things that I'm like, dang, I wish I would have implemented this a little bit more. And like I said, always being able to coach, be coachable. Sorry, as a coach.
Yeah. How much would you say? How much would you say of coaching is it? How much of coaching is actually mentorship, and how much of coaching is actually the X's and O's? Like, oh, we need to work on our technique. We need to work on our heading and our juggling and all this stuff. And how much of it is like, hey, we need to work on our mindset, our perseverance, our understanding of the game, have fun, all these different things that, right. How much of it is mentorship? How much of it is X's and O's?
So I want to say definitely way more mentorship and like in the mental side. I want to say 60-40, because the X's and O's, that's obviously important.
Yeah.
Because obviously we're talking soccer here, but at the end of the day, you want to look at the, what is the individual looking like in the future? With or without soccer. Can I help him grow habits? Can I help him grow a strong mentality when it comes to hard situations, not just like in the soccer part, So I think, like I said, I think a lot of it comes more mentorship. And then obviously the extra is the X's and O's and teaching the tactical part of the game. And again, that's the beauty about what we do, that we could do both.
Right. 100%. Like I agree 100%. And I think you definitely see, because you're right. It is soccer. We're not here to just, I'm not here to just make you a better person. And then where do we apply it? Like, I'm trying to win games. I'm trying to win games. Right. And so it's like that. But me personally, and you can talk to this, I see soccer as a tool and I mean, we've said this, coaches have said this for centuries, that we use soccer as a tool for life, and that, you know, if you give up here, you're going to give up there, right? And you can't just, you know, you can't just win today and then tomorrow show up and not, you know, not want to go hard again. It's like, but as a player, you don't see that. That's what I'm trying to get to. As a player, you do not see that. As a player, soccer was everything to me. I didn't give two, you know what's about, you know, winning here, or being a good person here, or doing the right thing here. But as long as I was on time to every meeting. I would train extra. I would, you know, talk to my coaches, be respectful to my coaches. But then I go home and my clothes aren't put away. My bedroom looks like crap. I'm not doing dishes. I'm not helping out. I'm not doing anything. I'm losing at life, but I'm winning at soccer, right? And as a player, you look at it and you say, "Oh, I'm obsessed, and I want to compete, and I want to do better, and all this stuff, and I want to win this game and all that." As coaches, are we doing a good enough job of meshing the two and making kids realize of what we're actually trying to teach them?
Correct. I think I think you hit it right on. You know, as coaches, are we doing the right things to, like I said, mash them up together and be able to get them to understand the reasoning behind, you know, you having to do extra running because you were late, or you having to do extra stuff because you didn't do a certain habit that, you know, that it should naturally come, not only for the soccer world, but as well in the real world. You know, a lot of I feel like I got this a lot from you and Rick and my boy Fox, that, you know, like, you know, soccer is a sport. You know, it's a sport, and, you know, we love it. At the end of the day, like you said, we have to be able to use the habits we're learning here into a life situation. So I've always tried my best to explain to my players, like, hey, you know, I am hard on you because, like, oh, you're not doing this exercise right.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm hard on you is, again, and I kind of match it up with a life lesson, a life reasoning. I usually put my personal life, like I said, I've learned a lot through just trial and just being, like, experiencing stuff. And I'm like, all right, like, this is how I felt in this situation.
Yeah.
Maybe you can relate, you know. And again, like, always try to mash both together.
I think that's key. And I was talking to my dad yesterday about this, and you're echoing the same things, is that as coaches, in order to give the best to our kids, I think you see coaches right now, and they, you know, they talk forever, or they don't let the kids play enough or whatever, because they're looking at it from a coach's perspective and saying, I need to make these 5 points, and then that way, as a coach, I can check the boxes and I have a successful day. But instead of saying, as a player, what would I need in this situation? As a player, what would I want to have happen in this situation? If I'm a player, do I want my coach talking for 5-10 minutes at a time? No, I want to play. I want to get moving. I want to work. And so we don't look at it from a player's perspective. Just like you said, you know, how do I feel in this situation? How would I have felt in this situation? If, you know, I have this thing now where I really try to study the psychology rather than the X's and O's. Like the X's and O's, I know how I want to play. I've been a pro. I've done all these different things. I've coached from a very young age. I've observed coaching. X's and O's, I can always get better, but it's not, like we said at the beginning, it's more about, you know, the mentorship, the psychology of it and stuff like that. And so I've really been doing a lot more studying on the psychology aspect of, you know, as a team, you have many different personalities that make up the team, right? And so I'm not one type of coach when it comes to any player. I like to, you know, really, really make this kid feel like he's the best player in the world, so that he can, you know, because that's how he plays best, right? That's how we're going to get the best.
That's how you get the best out of him. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's other players. If I big them up too much, they're going to think they're the God's gift to the world, and they're going to play worse. Yeah. So you have to find that balance. And most coaches, I feel, coach one way, and if you like it, great. If you don't, then you're not going to be playing or whatever. And at a certain level, that's okay. At college level or whatever, if you're not willing to subscribe to our way of playing, then no. But at a young age, as a coach, like, this is why I asked the question, is it more mentorship or whatever? Because if you're a mentor, you need to meet your mentee where they're at and then lead them, right? And so, and so for me, I've developed multiple ways of coaching where, you know, I show them, I talk to them quietly, and then maybe at the at game time, I hold them accountable with a little bit of, a little extra voice,
pressure, a little bit more pressure, yeah.
A little bit more pressure because we're at war. Like we need to, win your battles.
Yeah.
We need to play well the way you can, being your best every single day. And so you touched on it beautifully that, as coaches, we need to look at it from a player's perspective, right? This player might not be able to take, me yelling at them all the time. So I need to, lean a little bit more towards the quiet voice, the showing, the understanding, trying to get them to figure it out. But coaches don't look at it that way. They look at it from a coach's perspective, from the manual that I have done in my A, B, C license class, that this is how they said I'm supposed to talk to them. And we need to worry about, making diamonds and triangles and all this stuff. And it's just, we've gotten lost. And that's why I asked the question at the beginning, mentorship over coaching and all that stuff. Because we teach the coach, but we don't necessarily teach the mentor.
Correct. No, I think you hit it right on. I think at a young age, it's very important that the coach kind of adapts to each player in their ways, Because like you said, some kids might be able to take the screaming and the pressure. Some kids are not ready for that. And again, you want them to eventually be able to play with the pressure, with the screaming and all that. So sometimes you got to talk to them different. You got to approach them a little bit different. Some people you can approach in front of people. Some people you can't approach them in front of people.
Right.
So I think it's very important just to be able to switch on and off on who you're approaching. And I think that's one thing that's definitely, I learned that at a young age in my career of coaching, that I couldn't be myself, not myself, the typical Coach Bryhan asked for a lot of, kind of comeback and the intensity and all that.
Yeah.
And I was, again, getting a lot of pushback from some people because, again, they weren't used to that. They weren't used to being pushed. So I had to learn okay, if I want to keep doing this, I have to meet them more on a personal level. Right. And I think that's why I bring out my personal life into it because, again, once they notice, like, all right, coach is actually, like, bringing, like, he's actually, like, experienced this in a different level. Right. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense, And then that's kind of where now we're level-headed and they know that I'm there for them rather than, just to make them look bad or anything like that,
Right. So I want to talk to you specifically because, when you were at TOCA, that's more of a personal training. So you do have to have that personal connection for sure. You have to have that personal connection. And there's two questions I want to ask you. The first thing is you have to deal with a lot of parents, right? You have to deal with a lot of parents. And when you're in the personal training world, you have to deal with parents who are very, very, sort of, we call them helicopter parents, where they're right on top of their kids. Like you have to be doing this. If you're not doing this at 2 a.m. or at 2 p.m., you're never going to make it. Or you're not doing it every single day. Oh, did you have a carb? Oh, you're never going to make it. Like, so talk to me about when does that become negative, right? Okay. So when does that become negative? We for us coaches, we often see it as negative. So when does that become negative when you're all like, I want my kid to succeed. We all want our kids to succeed. So I got to push them and I got to give them the resources possible to make their dream become a reality, their dream, because we think it's their dream, even though it might not be. And then let's shed some light on the part where, it is a good thing. Like there are, there could be, one or two good things about that. But coming from you, because you've had personal relationships with the kids and you've also had personal relationships with the parents. Whereas if I'm a coach of a team now, you're a coach of a team, but now that I've never really been a personal trainer, so I've never had to deal with each individual parent. It's been more of a collective sort of situation.
All right. So, are you meaning like more in the individual or in the?
Yes. So for you in the personal training world, you've had to deal with the helicopter parents of the people who are like, oh, you need to do this, this, and this if you want to make it. We often see that as negative. So first talk to the negative side of it, but where's the positive on that?
No, I think definitely, obviously, the negative is, again, putting pressure on the kid that the kid might not be ready for, On the positive side, I guess you would say it's important that the parents are involved, It's important that there is a little push into them. But like we talked about earlier, a lot of it has to do with the mentality of the kid, where the kid is, how the kid is, is individually. He might be very timid. He might not be very timid.
Right.
In my personal experience, my dad was very on top of me, very
Yeah.
high pressured, and it was a little nerve wracking at first, but I felt like that pushed me out of my comfort zone, and that was a positive side on my side. I know that there's kids that again get out of that comfort zone because they're pushed out of that comfort zone, and then there's kids that melt down because they're not ready for that. They're not ready for the pressure, the parent. The parent always like, yeah, you need to do this, you need to do that. And the kid's like 10, kids trying to just enjoy life a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, I guess in the positive side, I guess it depends on the person individually if they could take it, if they could take the pressure, if they could take the dad being involved or the mom being involved all the time. And I kind of seen it gone both ways, to be honest.
Right. Exactly.
Some kids could take it and they're like, boom, they start doing well. But at the end of the day, like too much pressure can push a kid out. I know I dealt with that.
You hit it perfectly there, because this is where I'm getting at, is like every kid is different. We are human beings. There's no way you can put you right here and you right here in a box. We make millions of decisions every single week. So and you're going to tell me that based on my millions of decisions, you're going to put me into some sort of box of, oh, I'm not this type of player or this type of player or this type of kid or this type of kid. And so I think it goes all the way back to that. Like it's always going to come back to this. Whether you're a parent or a coach, you have to understand that this is more mentorship than it is coaching. Your kids don't necessarily need to be going to 3 or 4 personal trainers trying to get different types of work, agility, technical, mental, whatever. You need to you and your kid need to figure out who your kid is, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's right for him, her.
Right. Because it goes back to, figuring out how to coach and how to mentorship this kid. Because as every parent watching this knows, if you have 2 kids, 1 girl, 1 boy, or 2 boys or whatever, they're both gonna be almost completely different. Like that's just how it works. And you have to figure out what this kid needs and what this kid needs, and you need to be able to meet them where they are in order to take them where they need to go, right? So like learning from that aspect of, and I'm not saying that I'm an expert on parenting, but I'm saying like when it comes to sport, and like you said, there are some kids where you've seen the parents and they're all over them and they're pushing them and they're this and they're successful and it works. Venus and Serena Williams, their dad was all over them, making sure that they were working every single day. It worked. Great. Good job. For that same situation, there was another dad right down the road who was doing the exact same thing, and it didn't work because it didn't work on that girl. And she ended up saying, oh, I hate tennis. I hate tennis. I don't want to play. That kid, that girl, maybe if dealt with differently, could have been the next Serena Williams and the next Venus Williams or whatever.
Yeah, if maybe it was approached a little bit different.
Right, and it's not a one size fits all, parenting / coaching in a box situation. You have to figure out what your kid needs, and do they still want to play soccer or whatever? And that's and I think it's our job as coaches as well to say, like we said at the beginning, this is more than soccer, right? This is more than soccer. If this kid quit tomorrow, would they have an understanding or an idea of what the real world is like in terms of I need to persevere, I need to understand what I'm doing, I need to know the ins and outs, and I need to be focused.
Have a plan,
right.
all that stuff.
Right.
No, I think you hit that right on. Like, I feel like some parents have this image of like, oh, this is what my kid could be. And again, respectfully, some parents have never even played the game, and they're like, oh, I want my kid shooting from 18 out, and the kid might not even have the leg for it. The kid might be a goalie. You never know. Again, the young age. So it's a lot of it is just, again, not only coaching the kid, but having to step aside from the kid and being like, all right, parent, how can I help you understand what we're doing here with your son or daughter? Like the reasoning why, instead of us hitting the drill, like the exercises with the ladder and stuff, we're kind of taking it a little bit more easy and socializing a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because again, they might not be fully in love with soccer. Right. They're still trying to figure out if this is something they want to do. But again, there's always two sides of it.
Right. So how much? So here's the thing. I'm big on, communicating with parents and trying to bring a little bit of education to it, right? Because I feel for the parents. Yes, most of them have not played the game of soccer, but this is their child, right? I'm putting my child into soccer. I know that you kick a ball on the goal. Okay, I get that. My child hasn't kicked the ball on the goal for a couple of games. Does my child suck? Is my child bad? And how much education do we need to do? This is the first question. How much more education do we as coaches and people who understand the game, how much more education do we need to do? And second, how many of these parents that you have actually tried to talk to and educate and just said, nah, it's fine. I don't need education.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's definitely needed a lot more than we do it.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, when it comes to coaching, you only speak to the parent when it's really like, schedule wise, this is where you need to be, this is where you need to be. But I think in the future, or hopefully soon, coaches start realizing that you need to go a little bit more into depth of like what you're doing. So then there's no question marks from the parent side of being like, oh, is what we're doing helping my son grow, period.
Right.
And sometimes they don't even know that. They're like, oh, soccer. Again, everybody's thinking soccer team. But again, the purpose is not just to become a good soccer player. Like the purpose as a coach is for me to grow that individual to becoming something bigger than just that. So again, I feel like a lot of definitely coaching could be done. Again, depends on the coach and how serious they are about it. And what was the second question again? It was
how many of the parents that you've actually tried to educate have just not taken it and been like, no, I'm good? Do you see that they're receptive?
It's like 50-50. The way that I've approached it has always been like, hey, I'm putting my hand out to do this extra thing, to reach out to you and talk to you and communicate. Right. Are you willing to take my advice, take what I'm saying? Right. And again, I'm not saying you have to agree with it. That's just what, obviously you're paying me to help your child grow. Right. So that's the way I'm approaching it. And again, some people have played the game, so they're like, I appreciate it, but that's it. And again, I got to take it as a learning experience too. Like, not everybody's gonna take my advice. Not everybody's gonna do it my way or go the route that I think is correct for their child.
Yeah. I think so to be honest, it was interesting to me when DJ recommended you and all that stuff, because obviously we're at, just being honest, we are at higher levels than you had played, right?
Yeah.
And so when I looked at you, training DJ and all this stuff, obviously we're all homies, we're all boys. So it's never like, what do you think or whatever. I was just always watching you and trying to understand like how you saw the game, because obviously I hold DJ to high esteem. And when he recommended you, I was like, okay, well, let's see what he's about, whatever. So I was stepping in like, okay, let's see what happens. And from minute one, I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. How do you go about that, training people that might be at little higher levels than you were playing at?
No, I mean, obviously I was still new to it when you guys came in the picture, and I was like just blessed that DJ was like, yo, the way I approached DJ was like, he's at a higher level than me. I'm not gonna come out here and step on his toes and be like, oh, this is how you do it. Obviously, he's got his ways, and again, he's here. He was there to just again, obviously, get the repetition, get advice. And that's literally all I gave him, and obviously opened up a relationship with him to understand that, hey, I was just there to help, whether it's to say something or not say anything. If he needed feedback, I was there for feedback. If he didn't need feedback, then again, I just kind of kept him doing his thing. Kind of the way I approached you as well. Like, I was like, I know that you are at a higher level. Obviously, you play at a higher level with me, so I was like, I just want to help him be ready, whether it's with advice or no advice. Whether it's with the exercises or no exercises, I just wanted to help and be a support system,
Right. I mean, that's spot on. That's what I saw. And that's what I was like, okay, this is big time, because, we call it staying in our lane and all that stuff, but it's not even doing that. It's like, there are some things that I needed to work on. There are some things that DJ needed to work on, and you helped us in those areas like that. I think that's what, I think that's the biggest thing about you is that you helped us find those little areas that we needed to work on, right? And I think that's the key to a big time trainer. If any trainers watching, is that you don't have to be a know-it-all. You don't have to know everything that there is to know about the game of soccer. And I also want to talk to the people who are looking for a trainer. You don't need a guy necessarily who played in the MLS or played at this top league. There are trainers out there who did not play at the top leagues that are better trainers than the guys who did play at the top leagues. And for me, we look at, he played in the MLS or he played in Europe or he did all this stuff. But that doesn't necessarily make a great coach. There are former players right now who are getting fired from clubs at high levels that are getting fired from clubs. And then there are coaches who have never played the game in their life. Jose Mourinho, he did just get fired, but you look at his records compared to coaches who have not played the game. I mean, it's not necessarily an indication. So you need to make sure that you are really trying to find and create a real relationship with the trainer that you're with or whatever. And people who are really genuinely there to help you. And then, you don't need to know everything, right? You don't need to know everything there is about the game of soccer. You just need to know your thing really well. And then when a player comes in, a top level player comes in, then you help them and you find little things that they need to work on, and you bring and then the other thing about you, just bringing the energy and the consistency all the time, making sure that we are actually there getting better and actually there ready to work.
Right. No, I think you hit that right on. Like I said, you don't have to. I knew stepping into what I was doing that I was like, I don't know everything about it, but I know my key strong points that I had as an individual, that I was there to help. I was there for the right reasons. And again, make it hard for you guys so then you guys can see like, all right, maybe I need to work on this. Maybe I need to work on that. And not so much me telling you like, hey, Andrew, you need to work on this, man.
Right.
Like it all kind of opens up for you guys for individually for you to see like, all right, like this is stuff that I can really work on. And again, like you said, the energy is so important. It's so important. You cannot fake that. You cannot, replicate somebody else's energy. It's always like you got to bring you and vibe off the player, vibe off the individual.
Yeah. I always say in podcast IG lives, I always say like consistency over intensity. That's the most important thing, right? Consistency over intensity every single day will lead to those compounding that compounding interest and all that stuff. If you come every single day and you show up every single day, then at some point it's going to you're going to start seeing it, right? At first you don't see it. It's only a little here and little here, but by the end, after time has gone by, you'll look around and you'll see completely different situation than before. And that's what you're saying is if you bring energy every single day to what you're doing, yes, you're going to have bad days. You're going to have days where it doesn't seem like anything's working, nothing's working. But if you stick with it and you keep doing the right things every single day, at some point it's going to work. It's going to work. And I see both sides. I see your side of it from the trainer aspect, coming every single day and putting in the work, whether it's with Fox or me or DJ or even just a little kid, right? You do it little by little every single day from a training aspect, but also from a trainer's aspect of, I've been seeing this kid for the last 5 weeks and I have not seen any progress. But if we stick with it and we stay with the right energy and we stay with focus, something's going to happen. He's going to score some banger in his game, and now he's going to just believe in himself, and it's going to go. Now he's going to just go on.
Correct. But, that's so funny you say that, because like that's really how I kind of persuade most of my players that for the first couple of months it's like you look the same, but I'm going to keep bringing the energy, and eventually he's going to score that goal. And I'm telling you, that confidence going, and like now we're seeing progress. Now we're seeing like, all right. And now I know that energy levels, I can like go in and out, balance it. Some days you'll feel it, some days he doesn't, but at least we have something to mark down. Like, hey, remember that goal?
Right.
You see how long it took us to just get to that feeling, to that point? Like, gotta keep working. But
On days you don't feel like doing it as a trainer, on days you don't feel like doing it, how do you get yourself up and motivated for those kind of situations where it's like, yo, I'm about to coach this kid at 5. I've been here since 8. He's not done. His attitude's not the greatest. I don't see that much progress, but yo, I need to get up for this. I need to bring my energy, just like I bring my energy for Andrew and DJ. I got to bring it for this kid.
Yeah, no, oh man, there's been so many times that has happened, and I swear, life literally like handles itself in that situation. Because most of the time, like you said, I would be like 6 sessions in. I have a 8-year-old at 7 p.m. My last one. I'm like, all right, how do I find? I know that attention spans with her or him are a little bit different. So I'm like, all right, let me just approach it real life stuff. Start talking about the day. Start talking about all right, like what's going on in their head. Kind of pick their brain a little bit, and that kind of just drives the session to be like, all right, like it's either I can tell if they're fully in it or not, and then pretty much point out that if they're in it or not, and kind of go with that and go off their energy. Like I said, it could be like probably the worst session they had, but I take the time to step back a little bit and be like, you know what, like this was not your best, and let's talk about it. Let's figure out why this happened. And it works out itself, like I said, because I start mentioning, like, you know what, like, energy wise for me, like, as you could tell, I'm usually like super energetic. I'm kind of laid back today. The reasoning is boom. And then they kind of start opening up. And then that's when we kind of start seeing a change in energy from the player, but and myself as well. Cause now I see him like, all right, he's into the session. We're getting somewhere,
You make a great point there. You make a great point there is that people think that energy comes from some sort of mindset or motivation or whatever, but energy by definition comes from movement. Like if once I get going in the session, once I start moving a little bit, once I start, do the little warm up where, and I make a couple of goals and we start getting, the music's playing and stuff like that. Once we start getting that, that train rolling, when the train starts, it's very slow. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. But once it starts going and it builds that momentum, there's no stopping it. By the end of the session, you're drenched, you put in the work. Like someone was talking recently, it was like Carly Lloyd or something like that. She was saying that some of my best sessions were the days I didn't feel like doing it, because I would come and I'd be like, nah, like it's cold out, I'm sore from yesterday. The World Cup's not for another 2 years. So what are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, exactly.
But she's like, and then in those moments is like after the warm up, I just started feeling it, and then I got into it, and now I don't feel sore anymore. And now I'm putting in the work, and it's like I pushed through that, and now I'm at this energy level, and I just really feel accomplished after that.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it's once you get in that zone, you're in it,
Right.
That's how it is for me. When I know I'm not feeling or I'm not super energized, I know that if I just focus on the session, don't worry about the time, don't worry about anything else, that really the best comes out of me. Because again, I get the best out of them, and now we're working. When at the beginning it could have been a waste of session if I didn't approach it that way.
So my question for you is, we can do both sides, the coach and the player, but what should you do after a bad session? Say you come to TOCA and you put in an hour, and after the hour you just that was a bad session. I mean, we were going for 17 goals. For people who don't know, in TOCA you have 18 balls. Ball gets spit out to you. We have different exercises that we do, and the goal is always to hit 18 goals. Right? Very, very rarely do you do that, but my goal is to come and put in the work and try to get 18 goals on this exercise that we've been doing for a couple of weeks. And I got like 7 goals, and I just could not finish. My touch was completely off. I just feel like I really didn't, this wasn't a great session for a trainer. That could be tough as well. Like, shoot, are they getting better? Am I doing it right?
Is it me? Yeah. So, yeah, a lot of pressure comes obviously with when there's no results very visible. In a situation like that, it's very, very easy to put your head down and be like, oh, whatever, like next one, blah, blah. Yeah. But I always try to obviously look past it, but get them to understand and kind of, again, go back to the mentorship and bring real life situations as like, all right, like, today doesn't really matter. It's an exercise, it's training. That's why you're here, because obviously you still have to work on your work ethic or, whatever, getting past the emotional side, and that's why you didn't do so well. Like I said, I kind of take it deeper than just a soccer thing and start talking like,
Right.
all right, how is this going to help you in the real world? Because like obviously today you were not feeling it, and it shows in your session, and it's okay. But like, how can we change that? How can we next time we run into the situation, not only in the soccer but real life, like how do we overcome that? To keep going and get the best out of that session, that game, that that opportunity, whatever it is.
It's so easy for us to just be like, oh, like people are like, oh, people think it's hard or whatever. But when you're in a situation of just like, yo, I had a bad session, it's so easy to stay there and be like, oh, it's not working, it's not going well, it's not like, it's so easy to stay there and feel bad for yourself or sad for yourself. But what you need to do at that point, like you said, let's go over why it happened. Let's make sure that tomorrow is better. How do we make sure that tomorrow is better? We got to make sure that, we get enough rest. We got to be ready to go energy wise tomorrow. We got to make up what we didn't do today. Right. And so you got to be proactive in that situation. You got to be super proactive and again, bringing that movement and that energy back. But yeah, that's spot on.
Definitely ask questions, because once you start asking questions, the reasoning on why that session was like that literally comes out clear. And one thing I always mention to them is it's okay. Like, we're not perfect. We're humans. You're gonna have crappy sessions, and it's okay that today was like today. But just know that it could be fixed, and it needs to be fixed.
Right, 100%. And also that's sort of the trainer's job, isn't it? Like, what happened? Was it confidence thing? Okay, tomorrow we need to make sure we do things that build their confidence. Easy goals right at the beginning. Like, let's get their energy high. Let's get them feeling good about themselves. And then we'll go a little bit more challenging and we'll build it again. Like this idea, like for me, there's never an end for me. There's never I never fail. I never lose. I never do any of that, because when that happens, when I go to the gym and I have a bad day at the gym, whatever that, people say I have a bad day at the gym. What do you mean? Just lift the weight. Just lift the weight. But anyway, but for me, if I go to the gym and I have a bad day, whatever that means, and after the gym, I'm like, okay, tomorrow I need to get back to the basics, because you want to put an F on today, that's fine. If you want to put a failure on today, that's fine. If that's what you want to do. But it's always like, for me, it's like walking upstairs. If you trip on a stair, what do? You don't just walk down the stair and just leave. Like I have somewhere to go. I got to get up the stairs. You trip on a stair, and it's like you don't just walk away and just go back. Like, you don't go down the stairs and leave. You keep walking up the stairs. So today I tripped on a step. Okay, tomorrow I just put my one foot in front of the other, and you don't jump. You don't jump stairs. You walk up the stairs, right? Yeah. Some days you might go over. Some days you might go up 2 stairs. That's fine. Great. Good job. The next day you might go 1. The next day you might fall or whatever. But it's constant going up the stairs.
Like, like I always tell them, it's okay, because it's so cheesy. But even if, like I said, it's a bad day at the gym or whatever, you're actually growing from it mentally. I think you're noticing bad habits that you have, or something bad in your work ethic, that, all right, maybe I could change that. And eventually, at the end of the day, it's not a full waste if you approach it a way that now you're mentoring. Now you're letting them know, hey, listen, it's okay, but it's not okay. Right. If that makes sense.
Right. You're speaking to something that I've been talking about recently, is about like being kind to yourself, right? Like, too many, like, and me and Rick Fit were actually talking about this recently, how when he has a bad day or doesn't get his to-do list finished or whatever, like, just subconsciously he beats himself up. And I feel that at a young age, if I didn't do the things that I said I was going to, not at a young age, literally like a couple of months ago, if I didn't do everything on my to-do list, because it goes both ways. I would put like 6 or 7 things on my to-do list for the day. There's no way I'm getting that done. But every single day I wouldn't get it done. I would be like, you are like, how are we ever supposed to accomplish our goals? How are we ever supposed to do this? And a lot of young players do that, where they want to do everything. They want to read this whole book in a day, and they want to go and they want to train at TOCA, and then they want to go train with this coach, and then they want to go to practice, and then they want to, be home for dinner and all this stuff. And it's like, first of all, you're giving yourself too much to do, right? First of all, Rome, we always say it, Rome wasn't built in a day. It was built brick by brick, every single brick laid properly. And then the second part is, if you don't finish everything, be kind to yourself. You are further today than you were yesterday because you got 3 of the 5 things done. So we need to understand, and people listening to this or coaches listening to this or whatever need to understand that just because we didn't do everything we were supposed to do today or whatever, did we increase? Did we get better? 1% increase is better than 2% decrease, right? Or 0.5% decrease or any type of decrease. Like, just moving forward a little bit is better than moving backwards. So let's be kind to ourselves. And like you said, it's okay, but it's not. Okay. It's okay. Good job. Well done. Tomorrow, let's be better.
I'll touch on that. Also, like we mentioned earlier, it depends on the individual too. Some individuals you could be straight up too and be like, hey, listen, that wasn't good enough. And you know that. So let's fix it. And then again, some of them, you got to know who you could do that with, of course. But, every individual is different. You have to, I like to say, put a pillow under them. So then when they fall, it's not too hard and they can get up, but and the
you're going in and out a little bit. But there was something that I read recently about, there's 2 types of people, right? When there's a fire, there's 2 types of people. There's the people who say, oh, wow, there's a fire. And then there's people who are running for the fire extinguisher, right? They're trying to make it better. They're trying to put the fire out. The other people are like, oh, there's a fire, the end of the world, our house is going to burn down and all this stuff. And then there's people who are getting the fire extinguisher and putting it out. Yeah, and I think there's that balance. You have to have that balance. You had a bad day. Okay. You had a bad day. Let's say like it is. You had a bad day. You didn't improve the way you're supposed to improve today. Now let's go to the putting the fire out now. Now, what do we need to do better tomorrow to make sure it's right? And then going to bed. Yeah.
Because, and then you got to let it go. At the end of the day, you got to let it go.
Exactly.
So again, that's the beauty about it. Just being aware of, okay, how can you approach somebody,
right?
In a certain way to get the best out of them at the end of the day. Because, at the end of the day, the training, they're there to train because they want to build a confidence. They want to believe in themselves. And they feel like at a young age, that's so hard to do if they don't have somebody reminding them, hey, you're doing good. Even though that was crappy, you're still doing good.
Right. I mean, I'm really speaking to it a lot now because I do believe that we're in a time where kids are working hard. They are trying to make their goals become a reality. They are doing all these different things, but either they don't know how or they don't have the mentality right. Like, I'm huge on figure out who you are, analyze yourself, understand who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing and all these different things before you go and try to put in all this work.
Yeah, commit.
Yeah. Because running in the wrong direction, good job, you're working, but you're going in the wrong way, and it's going to take you longer to get back. So,
or you're just going different ways, and you're like, all right, like you're gonna end up nowhere at the end of the day.
Right. Or running 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction. But you got to know who you are first, and so the mentality aspect of the game is something that you've been touching on a lot in this podcast about building a relationship with the kid. Understanding how can we get better today? How do we do better? And if they do well, yes, great job. You did really well today. We'll see you again next week or whatever. Like, let's get it again. Reinforcing the good and making sure that we're correcting the bad so that we can get back on track.
Correct.
Too many players. And also I want you to talk to us a little bit is players who don't have trainers and are training by themselves. What is a couple of tips or advice that you would give them to make sure that they're not running a million miles an hour in the wrong direction?
Correct. No, that's funny that you say that. A lot of my JV, hopefully they're watching, shout out to them. A lot of JV of my team, a lot of them don't train on their own. A lot of them don't have a trainer. Yeah. They just play club. And again, the best advice I tell them to do is either partner up with somebody that they think
is doing the right things, so then they, to keep each other accountable. Or again, there's nothing wrong with asking. And again, that's comes from the coaching part. Again, I think I do a decent job of reaching out to them and like, hey, if anybody needs any help with feedback or anything you want to work on, always reach out to me. Again, at the end of the day, that's why I'm here to whatever it is, whether it's with life, whether it's with soccer. And it's crazy what feedbacks you get sometimes from the players and the kids. A lot of it, to be honest, was more mental and more personal when it came down to like, oh, like how can I help you guys grow as a player? And it was way beyond that, which was awesome because it brought me closer to the players, and I got to talk a little bit of, again, on the mental side, but as well as the soccer side, and how can that help him grow on the soccer field, Best advice is either, again, connect with somebody that they think they're doing the right things, or that they're asking somebody for help, or ask for help. It's nothing. It's never. One thing I've learned growing up, there's nothing wrong with ever asking.
Right.
Some people take it a different way, but that's out of my control. I'm just trying to better myself.
It's interesting you say that, because literally Steve Jobs said in one of his interviews, he literally said, I've never asked someone something and then not give me an answer. Like, I've never asked someone for something and then not give me the thing that I was asking for.
Right,
and so, and I think the problem is now that kids don't know what to ask for. They don't know what to ask for. So they're like, what do I need to get better at? Well, know what you need to get better at. Tell me what you need to get better at, and I'll tell you how to get better at it. Right. So it's like, take a second before you go ask your coach, what do I need to work on? First of all, we all need to work on everything. That's it, right? I need to get fitter. I need to get stronger. I need to get better on the ball and all that stuff. But I'm not necessarily putting all my time and effort into that. I'm putting my time and effort into the things that I'm already good at that I need to do better at.
Correct.
I like I'm huge on, strengthening your strengths. Don't strengthen your weaknesses.
Yeah, don't try to do something that you're not good, strong at, and then be like, oh, I'm going to change it because it's going to take you longer. And anyways.
Yeah. So my biggest quote that I heard from a psychologist was literally, don't strengthen your weaknesses because you're going to weaken your strengths.
Yeah.
And so that's a big thing, but it's as a player, you have the responsibility. I don't care if you're 10 years old, and I don't care if you're 25 years old. You need to make sure that you know who you are as a player. You need to know who you are as a person, and then you can ask your coach, how do I get better at my first and second touch? How do I get better at my passing abilities? How do I get better at, shooting from outside the box? Like, how do I get better at these specific things?
Being specific is very important. Like you said, obviously a lot has to do with knowing yourself and knowing your strengths. But sometimes they don't know that, and that's fine. But just know that if you don't, and you're asking questions, ask specific questions rather than like broad, like, what do I need to work on?
Right.
Like maybe, hey, naming, coach, can you name me 3 things that I'm good at and 3 things that I'm not good at, or that I need to work on?
Or say, coach, I believe that I'm good at passing. I believe I'm good at dribbling. I believe I'm good at defending 1v1. What do you think about that?
Exactly. Being more specific to it, because then now it gets the coach thinking like, oh yeah, he is good at that. I don't know about that. I think he's capping, but it's cool. Like,
right. No, I mean, that's great advice right there. So I think, like I said at the beginning, and just recapping real quick before we hop off, but my biggest thing with you when I was training with you, and the reason I kept coming back, right, is because, you brought energy. You were consistent, right? You were a consistent individual who came every single day with the energy, with a session plan, right? You didn't just come and be like, okay, put the cones there. We'll put the cones there. We'll do this. No, you came with a plan. So one thing that I've been telling a lot of kids is that, planning, there's a quote that says 1 minute of planning saves 10 minutes of execution, which is 10x investment, right? So it's the best time is to invest in a plan. And so it's like, I've told people 2 things. I said, if you feel comfortable making a plan for yourself for your training session, do it. Make sure that you have a plan and you execute, and you're done. When your plan is done, you're done. You go home, right? Or if you don't believe in your plan, then you need to either invest in a plan, there's, some good plans out there that I believe in, that I've actually done, and then or a coach, right? So, so that's another thing with you, is that you're always prepared and ready to go. And so our hour was always like a solid hour, like just hard work from minute 1 to minute, 60. So those are the two things for you. And,
thank you, man. Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that. And so give me last thing I'm going to ask, give me a difference. What's the difference between, from the personal aspect, from the personal coaching aspect to now as a team? What differences are you seeing? And what are some things that you noticed when you went to the team setting that you're like, you know what, I need to start working on this a little bit more?
Correct. No, obviously I definitely enjoy the personal setting, just because obviously you're one-on-one with the player and the parent. Right. On the team aspects, a little bit different. I feel like I've had to approach it a little bit different as well, because now I'm working with a group, and now I'm working on building their team skills. Like, how do I get to work? How can I get better at working with somebody? Mm-hmm. But still take care of my individual roles, take care of my individual growth, but at the same time grow as a group. So now the way I approach that's a little bit different, because now it's a little bit more problem solving for them, instead of me, going personally and being like, hey, like, you need to work on this, on that. Now it's like, how can we grow as a team, and adjust to everything that's happening? And again, having a plan is huge. On my side, if I don't have a plan set in place, again, the players, everybody, you can notice, you can see it in the air. So I feel like that's definitely helped me just always be organized with what I'm doing, and hitting the key points of, like, when I'm coaching the team, this is what we're focusing on. Now, if something comes in, you always have to adjust. Obviously, it's not always gonna go how you write it down, but if something comes in, you always adjust it around the main topic of, like, all right, what are we working on as a team? And obviously individual as well.
Right. Yeah, I think that's key. And I was talking to someone recently about how, you have to have 1 to 3 points as a coach in your session, and just say, these are the 3 things we need to work on today. Let's hit this every single time. Make sure that this is quality. Correct. As opposed to, my team needs to work on, defending, attacking, playing out of the back. We need to work on so many different things. Like, let's get this all in an hour. And it's like, if we're not working on playing out of the back, I'm not really focusing that much on playing out of the back. I'm focusing on these 3 things, right? And so the organization, I think, is so key. And that's actually something that I've learned from a lot of different coaches, but I've learned from you as well. Like, when you show up to a training session, have the training session ready to go. So that now we can just focus on this. Now we can focusing on this, not like, oh, what am I going to do after this piece? What are we going to do after this? And so
it's tough when you kind of just go, again, I don't want to say I was perfect at the beginning. Yeah. At the beginning, there was times where I was like, oh, what am I doing? And I learned that real quick, that I cannot do it like that. Yeah. If I want to do this for real, if you want to literally get the best out of the individual, you got to plan it out. You have to have a plan.
I mean, honestly, being with you, at TOCA in general, showed me how personal coaching should be. I look around now and I look at different personal coaches or whatever, and I see the things they're doing. I'm like, you didn't have a plan. First of all, you didn't have a plan. And second of all, you don't have a personal relationship and a personal understanding of this child right here. And I've been lucky. Like, I have a great family and all this stuff that really taught me that you need to focus on the person before the player.
Correct.
But being at TOCA and seeing how it's like you said from day one, it's like a family atmosphere. Is it, kids come in and they're happy, they're laughing, and everyone's name and all this stuff, and it's just great atmosphere. If you get a chance, yeah. So it's one of those things. Like that's what I learned, from a personal training perspective, is just understanding the person in order to influence the player. Right. And so that's something I learned from you guys. And now I can spot the fake coaches. Now I can spot the fake trainers. Like, oh, you just showed up, got the money and left.
Respectfully, everybody's doing their thing, but it's why I know me personally, I always want to do it for the individual rather than the money and stuff.
Yeah. But Bryhan, I appreciate you coming on, man. I really appreciate it. It's always good catching up. You know, brother for life now. You know, TOCA really helped me. You helped me big time with, you know, when I was in Atlanta and after that when I went to Chattanooga. So it helped me a lot. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on.
No, of course. No, thank you for the time. And just like you said, like you know, just like I helped you, you helped me grow as a coach, as an individual as well to stay on it. You know, just like you know, you saw it in the training for yourself. I saw it in the coaching side and things that I could get better. And you know, we only keep growing. You know, to this day, I'm only learning more day by day.
Right.
That's what it is. That's how life is.
Right. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, man. You guys, you have a good one, man.
All right. Later.
See you.